Hello everyone, Just Goran here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo Quick Tricks tutorial. Earlier this week I was streaming and happened to find an awesome new trick that allows you to completely hide animal talk points while they remain fully functional, except for maybe the food throwing. Go for it. Waiting to start animal talk. It works! You can completely put them on the ground. So of course normally a animal talk point looks like this. You've got this big thing over here that you have to put down for it to function. But sometimes you might not want this. If you're doing a recreation zoo like me, there are none of these points in real life. So I don't want to have to put them down there. So let's see how we can hide them. So if you're building a brand new habitat and want to make use of this trick, you probably want to place down your talk point before you put down any paths or barriers, as you will have to remove these in order to do this trick, as you'll see later. So once you have a rough idea of the layout of your habitat and you know where you want to put your animal talk point, then it's time to go underground. But before we do that, we must actually measure the animal talk point so that we know how far underground we have to go. So we're going to go to the construction tab and just grab two little art pieces. We're going to put one at the bottom of the art or the animal talk point and one at the top, and this is to know how far underground we need to go. So we're going to group those up and just copy them, and let's say we're going to build a habitat over here and we want our next animal talk point to be right. Yeah, let's put it right here, so there's going to be a bit more space, not to crowd up the main path here. So we're going to put this right on the ground, because that's how tall the animal point is. So if we're going to put down an animal point over here, it's not going to show up. So now there are two ways to get your animal talk point on the ground. So let's start with the easiest one, which is just to dig a hole. So you're going to get your terraforming tools. We're going to dig down into the ground until we get to the bottom of our art shape. And once we're over there, we're going to just flatten that out. And once you have a nice big hole, you can try to put in the path. It's not letting me yet, so I think I'm going to have to dig it out a little more. I think this part over here is currently in the way, so I'm going to have to dig that out as well. And there you can see. Now we can put down our path. We're going to grab an animal point and you can place it in here. You have to make sure that you place the animal point facing the right way. So if I were to put it like this, for example, the animal educator will be facing the wrong way. Of course, we want it to face this way towards the path and away from the habitat, which is going to be over here. So once you put down the education point, you can just remove the path and fill the hole back up. Now, if you can't place on any path, you might have some of these bubbles over here down in your terrain. So you're going to want to pull and just get rid of those, and that should allow you to put in your path again. There we go. And you're going to want to make sure that you put a path above where your education point is. It's really important that you put the path over top of it, or at least really close to it, because if you don't, the educator will basically snap to the talk point, and when they do that, they will go underground. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. But if they remain on a path, then they'll stay nicely above the ground and do their thing. So now that we have this path over here, we could just build our habitat around it and we will have a functional education point here. But there is another way to put down the education point that requires no digging. So I'm just going to remove this one for now. And yeah, let's say that we have the exact same situation. We want to put the education point right over here. I'm going to go grab a path. And yeah, I wanted to show that earlier as well. You want to make sure that you have at settings, camera, all the way at the bottom, disable collision with terrain. That allows you to go underground to look up those little bubbles that you might be missing, or to do the following trick. So we're going to get a path, and we're going to make sure we have flattened terrain enabled, and tunneling needs to be disabled to do this. And what we can do then is just go underground, hold Control, Shift, move our mouse down. Oh, it looks like I have railings. It doesn't really matter, but I don't want them. So we're, hold Control, Shift, and then you can move the path down into the ground. We can go all the way to our little arch shape. Make sure we are level with that. Put down the path, and now we have an underground path over here, which we can then put our education point on top. And the reason I am showing you this method is because it's a bit more difficult, but it's also a lot quicker and easier once you understand it. Because as you can see, our education point is now under there, and we didn't even have to do any digging to put it there. So yeah, now we have our little education point, and we're gonna put that path over it once again. And yeah, that is it. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, that if you place down your path, you might want to disable flatten terrain again, just so that you don't mess up all your terraforming. And of course, to make your animal talk point work, you do have to assign it to a work zone. So I'm just gonna open my work zone over here and just put all the stuff in there. Now, if you want to update your existing talk points, I would recommend using the second method, since you won't have to redo all your terraforming and such, but you will have to remove some of the paths and barriers around your talk point, because otherwise you won't be able to place down that underground path. So for barriers, of course, you can just turn them into null barriers so that you do keep your shape, and you can just put them back later. But yeah, for the paths you will have to completely remove them, because otherwise it will be obstructed. So we're going to turn on flatten terrain, of course, put this right on the ground, and take our thing like so, and then we can just move our point on the ground, delete the path, put back our barrier the way it was, and now we have to just put our path back. Oh yeah, of course, disable flatten terrain again. There we go, and that should now all work. So I hope that makes sense. I was super happy when I found out about this trick, as for my recreation zoo, it meant that I could have animal talks without deviating from the look of the real life zoo. But in general, I think this trick should be super helpful for anyone making a realistic zoo. I have a feeling this trick will also work with the Vista points we're getting next week. If it does, I'll make another tutorial for them. If it doesn't, I'll be sure to put it in the comments here so you know about that as well. So thanks for watching, happy building, and I'll see you in the next video stream or whatever comes first. Bye bye!